Watch out, Joe, cause trouble awaits you. The Dreadnok cycle's gonna devastate you.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. We're going back to the comic this week.
And we'll be taking a look at issue 60, Cross Purposes. The last issue was all about Cobra Commander fighting the Joes in his new suit and pogo because we've got toys to sell. This issue has nothing to do with the Commander, but is all about new characters.
Because we've got toys to sell.
And the cover delivers on that straight away with Hawk in apparent battle with new character Zanzibar. It promises some good action, and the comic will deliver, so this cover doesn't lie.
Well, not much anyway, but we'll get to that.
The opening page has two new Joes, Law and Falcon tailing Hawk. They're using walkie-talkies despite being right next to each other. I'd say they want to be covert, but Law has a big gun right there in the open, so they're not being very subtle. Law approaches Hawk and orders him into the Jeep, letting him just imply the threat of violence. And the best resistance the commander of the Joe team can do is, channel the Wicked Witch of the West. I'll remember you and your dog, too! Meanwhile, not that far away, Zorana and Buzzer arrive at their old hideout, but something is amiss as somebody is siphoning gas.
Stealing from the Dreadnoks. Now that's a smart move.
They recognize the thieves as Zanzibar, who sold them the fuel in the first place, and Monkey Wrench, who was a Dreadnok in Australia. They get the drop on them and subdue the new toys in short order. They only stop beating them when Zanzibar says he has information that'd be valuable to Cobra. Meanwhile, Hawk arrives at an abandoned beach strip called Miami North in New Jersey.
Not to be confused with North Miami, which is in Florida.
It's abandoned because it was too cold there to actually have a beach resort. He sees Chuckles, calling him an escapee from Hawaii Five-0. I think that's Larry dunking on Hasbro again.
See my video from last week.
Chuckles greets him and holy hell, look at the size of him! Who the hell drew him, Rob Liefeld? Actually, a lot of the artwork does feel a little bit off.
Who did draw this?
Todd McFarlane? That Todd McFarlane?
Okay, that explains a lot.
Anyway, yet another new character, Fast Draw, is introduced, and they explain how they know all about the Joe team, because up until Chuckles set them straight, they thought they were new members, but that's news to Hawk. Chuckles, who's with Army Intelligence, says a corrupt politician and a Pentagon extremist are cooking something illegal up and they needed fake Joes as guards.
And just what are they guarding?
A huge effing missile that looks about the dumbest I've ever seen. It's like if Todd McFarlane had designed the missile.
Oh wait, he did.
Meanwhile, at the Pentagon, the bad guys have figured out Chuckles is onto them and that he's brought in Hawk, so they'll have to make their move now.
And what is their move?
Well, they find out the missile is targeting the center of Cobra Island. As they're discovering this, a woman walks in who I'm sure is a stereotype, I'm just not sure of what, who sees all that's going on. It is, of course, Zorana, working on intel she got from Zanzibar. So, how did Zanzibar know about this anyway?
Beats the hell out of me, the comic never bothers to explain it.
She's brought the others and sends Buzzer away to the Cobra Consulate in New York to warn them about the missile, while the others engage the Joes. Hawk starts shooting, which is weird because when they first meet him, Law says he's unarmed, so where did the gun come from?
And while I'm nitpicking...
On the cover, he's in his regular outfit, but here he's wearing a uniform. I assume the cover is like that to make sure you recognize him. While that's happening, the middle tower of the hotel opens up and the missile comes out, preparing to launch. Both teams want to destroy the thing, but since nobody seems to be in the mood to talk, they end up fighting each other instead. Though these guys must think they're in the cartoon, because despite lots of gunfire, nobody seems to be able to hit anybody else.
I mean, look at this!
Law should be cut to ribbons here! While that comedy of errors is happening, Buzzer has already reached a tunnel into Manhattan and goes through it. The battle rages on as Hawk finally realizes that the Dreadnoks want to destroy the missile too, but think the Joes are protecting it.
Not an unreasonable assumption.
Since 3 of them are standing on the bloody thing shooting at them, the battle goes on with Chuckles and Zanzibar beating the hell out of each other, while Monkey Wrench has trouble with Order, the dog. Meanwhile, Buzzer has made his way through Manhattan and enters the consulate building on his motorcycle straight into the elevator.
I'd ask where the hell security is, but this is Cobra after all.
On the beach, the fighting and bickering goes on long enough that the rocket is ready to take off and, in fact, does so without incinerating anybody fighting right next to it. How convenient that only the vehicles get totaled. Once again, almost as if this is a cartoon episode. Though, considering the characters involved, this is around the time of G.I. Joe the movie, so I'm sure Duke just went into a coma somewhere just off panel. All does seem lost though.
Well, for Cobra anyway, I'm not sure why the Joe should care.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the rocket is taken out by a smaller missile. Buzzer arrives just in time on that Cobra chopper we really need a toy of, come on HasLab, take my money, and picks up his friends. And so the day is saved, by Buzzer of all people. Bet nobody saw that one coming.
But the comic isn't over yet.
Firstly, Hawk tells them that as far as he's concerned, they're all on the Joe team for realsies now.
Really? Really?
Even though they completely failed at stopping the missile, and, as we'd see in a later issue, getting onto the Joe team takes a lot of freaking effort.
You see why I think this feels like a cartoon episode?
In the cartoon, finding a guy in the desert who helps them, or a shirtless guy up a freezing mountain who helps them, is enough to make them Joes, but in the comic it shouldn't be that easy. Anyway, secondly, Chuckles still has some business to take care of. He bursts into the office of the corrupt general in the Pentagon, kicking down the door, because it apparently has the same level of security as the Cobra consulate, and Chuckles wants to have some words. Also, he's dressed as Don Johnson from Miami Vice now for some reason. It looks like he's about to shoot them, but he just leaves them a pen to sign their resignations with. I assume he's got all the dirt on them for this to work, and the comic ends. And that was cross purposes.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
Let's start with the artwork. It's different from what we've become accustomed to, and it's not great. The most obvious examples being Chuckles, who has a body that would make Batista self-conscious, and the design of that missile that's, well, what is this? I don't even.
And there's the smaller stuff.
Look at how Hawk looks here when he's saying he doesn't shake hands with kidnappers. Is he sad? Is he bored? Is he angry?
I don't have a freaking clue.
This was the only issue of the original G.I. Joe comic that Todd McFarlane worked on, by the way, since creative differences with Larry Hama on what G.I. Joe should look like led to him leaving. Yes, there was that special after the series ended, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. As for the story itself, it's pretty much filler, even though it introduced a bunch of new people, though with the exception of Chuckles, none of them really got any characterization.
As filler goes, it's not bad.
And it was a pleasant surprise to see the bad guys win, with Buzzer being the hero of the day no less. Speaking of Buzzer, I thought there might be something off about him getting to Manhattan so quickly since they start near Jersey Shore, but that's a really big stretch of land, and they're presumably north of it. It still seems like the battle didn't take long enough for him to get there and get back with the chopper though.
Still, without knowing exactly where the battle was, I'm just gonna have to let this one go.
The failed and abandoned beach resort is probably based on a real one, there's plenty of those around, but I couldn't find a specific instance of a crazy developer going bust trying to build one in an area where it's too cold.
If you happen to know if this was real, do let me know in the comments.
I did figure out that the hotel with the missile is based on the Westin Bonaventure Hotel in LA. Overall, the story is okay, but nothing special apart from Buzzer winning. But the art choice really drags it down in places. I mean, I could have mentioned a dozen more weird art choices. Like, for example, what the hell is Serana doing here with her hand and why is she grinning?
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?
Watch out, Joe, cause trouble awaits you. The Dreadnoks cycle's gonna devastate you.